Is that where you are? Surrey.
I'm in wherever I don't even know where I am anymore. All I know is zone 6 just keeps on echoing in my head. There's a I told you there's a Wimpy.
Oh, right, is there?
They haven't even the news hasn't got to Ruislip that Wimpy
not
no
even
longer
a
exists.
thing, is there? It's like a burger museum of Wimpy.
They just have it, yeah. Exactly that.
This is how burgers used to be.
Yeah. I don't think they know that the war's over.
I worked at a Wimpy. I must have told you this before. I worked at a Wimpy when I was about 15. And I think no training. They just put you straight on the grill, short order cook. And I could do a cheeseburger. And then all these orders start flying in. And this thing called the Olympic breakfast they used to do. And part of it was you get a Frankfurter and you cut it in little bits all along one side. So when you cook it, it goes into a circle. And then you put the fried egg in the middle of that, right? And I was out of my depth. I didn't know what I was doing. And then anyway, they fired me after about 3 days. And I said, what have I done? And he said, well, you tell me, what have you done? I said, you didn't train me. You just you gave me an apron and shoved me in there.
Look, Jack, you've either got it or you haven't, mate.
No, well, I clearly haven't got that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's all about instinct in Wimpy. And you're just lacking. I'm sorry.
I had a stint in a fast food restaurant. I got sacked as well, actually, Jack.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, but I was sexually harassed and it's a bit weird. It's a bit of a downer, actually.
Well, Jane as well, she got sacked from, I think it was a Best Western or something in Tunbridge Wells, where she sort of grew up part of her life. And it was her first job. And she got fired from the restaurant there. And when her stepfather went in and asked why, the manager said, because she was leaning against a dessert trolley like a slut. I've asked her to do it for me. She won't. Can you believe it? And that was, can you believe it? People spoke like that. Really?
Terrible.
Well, it's not really bad. I can't believe that people leant against a dessert trolley like a slut.
I know. Well, that's it's unforgivable behaviour. Bringing down the good name of whatever restaurant it was.
I got sacked from. I think I've told you this. I got sacked. Have I told you this? I got sacked from the Odeon.
No.
They brought in. Yeah, they brought in allocated seating, and I was an usher, and that was just too much for me. Someone would come over and go, "Excuse me, mate. He's in my seat. I can't sit down because he's in my seat." So I'd go up to that, go, "Excuse me, sorry, sir. You're in his seat." And then that person would go, "Yeah, but that's because someone else is in my seat up there." and I just walked out. I can't handle this. This is way too much. And the manager,
when it was a free for all, it's fine. When my job had no point at all, I was happy. But once I had purpose, I couldn't cope any longer. Did you have a little torch?
I did have a little torch, thank you very much.
Yeah, I was always envious of those when I was a kid, Yeah. That'd be a good job. You get a torch. You get a torch for this job.
It was a good job. I remember the manager the manager didn't like me. And I appreciate that because he said, I was just hanging out in the foyer and he said, "Aren't you meant to be in screen 2?" And I said, "Yeah, but I haven't seen the beginning of Kill Bill yet. So if I go in screen 2 now, I'll see the end."
What?
Oh no!
The worst employee they ever had. You're not here to watch films. I am really. I am.
That's exactly why I'm here. Why are you here?
Yeah. We haven't mentioned dogs yet.
I know.
Let's get to it.
I know.
We better. I think it's related to Oh My Dog and dog things generally. But Sara, you had a phone. Did you lose your phone or did you get it stolen?
No, I had it stolen, Jack.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the scam so that you're aware that this happens, right? Yes. So this guy came over to our table. I was in Regent Street.
Oh.
And he asked for money. And me and my friend said, "No, sorry, we don't have any change."
Yeah.
And he showed us this piece of paper in like a plastic A4 sleeve. And I'm looking at this like, why am I looking at this piece of paper? Anyway, he was swiping my phone from underneath.
So
Yeah.
Hang on, that's brilliant. Let me just take some notes. Hang on, that's fantastic. No, oh my God.
Yeah, and I didn't realise for like 20 minutes when we left, and I went up the street and I said to Anna, oh, I haven't got my phone. So I ran back and she called up with me and she went, it was that guy, he's taken it, because it wasn't there.
No.
And then I just sort of I just froze, because I thought absolutely everything is on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. I didn't even know what to do. So she took over and really looked after me, which was great. But anyway, we had to go to dinner, and then I was on the train coming home.
Yeah.
I'm just going to close this door.
Yeah, please.
I was on the train coming home back to Bedford, and I'm sat there raw dogging because I've got nothing to look at, no phone.
Yeah,
I could only look at my watch rings that many times, and it was just so boring. But anyway, we go past a certain stop, and this woman says to me, "Oh no, the girl's left her headphones. Those Beats by Dre headphones. She'd left them on the seat." She said, "Are you going to Bedford?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, there's a depot there. Can you take those in?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, no problem." And then I started telling her about my phone. I said, "Oh, I just had my phone nicked." And then there's two guys behind, and they said, "Oh, we can take those headphones for you." And she just wanted me to take them. So, and they went, "Oh no, you got your phone nicked." I said, "Yeah." Anyway, she gets off the train, and then they said to me, "We can take that." And they showed me their card. Right, they were policemen.
Oh.
And they were off duty. They'd clearly been out drinking, and we got talking. And they said to me, "Oh, you live in Bedford? Oh, Bedford's nice, isn't it?" And I started laughing because I had Jack's voice in my head. And I said, "Oh, I work on this podcast called Oh My Dog." And I started telling them about it. And it turns out one of them had a dog, and one of them now has a flat coat retriever. And I said, "Oh, Sarah Cox has got one of those." So we got talking about that. Anyway, long story short, my phone got nicked, and we've got two new listeners, two off-duty policemen.
So it was all worth it in the end.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah. I'm sorry you got your phone nicked though. That's such an ordeal. Actually, Hattie, my daughter, had it nicked in almost exactly the same way.
Oh
really?
My God!
Yeah, in town, and some guy came out and had a map and said, "Can you show me where I am on the map?" And of course, being helpful.
So sorry, the phone is in this is a genuine thing to look out for. It sounds like a real concern now. The phone is in the bag. They're getting into your bag whilst...
No, the phone, well, I said to these policemen, because they said that to me as well, that sometimes it's a map. This is the thing that's going on. I said it was on the table, so that's my fault. They went, "Well, it's not your fault because they stole it." Yeah. But what they do is they put the piece of paper in front of you and their other hand is just swiping it from underneath.
Yeah. It's a mean thing to do. I think nicking someone's phone is such a serious crime, really, because your whole life is on it. You might not have even been able to get home without your phone. Really,
well, that's it. I was lucky that I had the ticket on my watch.
Yes,
but it's like everything. That's what I was thinking. I was like, literally everything's on there. And also, I gave the police once I'd reported it the address of where it was at in Seven Sisters. I could see where it was at.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, let's hope they got a knock on the door.
I hope so, but I don't know if they...
Your door's open again. Is that Juniper going out?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it?
She lets herself out.
I've actually bought... Sorry, this isn't dog... We will get to dogs, but just quickly. I've bought a lockbox for my phone.
Oh, okay.
So this is a box that you can store things in, and you shut it, and then you set a timer, and you can't open that box.
Oh.
So at like 8 o'clock now, I'll put the phone in the box and lock it, and you can't get in until you've
Oh, wow.
8 a.m. What are you?
Well, so long as you don't have an emergency in those hours, Ideally, I'd be able to call the fire brigade at this point, but we've got 3.5 hours to go. So,
open the windows. Yes, no, good point. But so obviously, I'm still at Grace's parents.
Yes,
and because I suppose what we didn't realise is because we've essentially kind of moved here for the time being, there's a system change without you even realising there's a system change. So, where does Mildred sleep? Mildred's been kind of, sometimes she's on my bed, and then she'll go in Grace's dad's bed, and then she'll go in Grace's bed, and she kind of moves around the house. But it was cool. I think it was disrupting her as well. She'd been waking me up in the early hours of the morning to go into the garden. And I realised that through being here, that we'd just lost a bit of routine. So back at home, I would always let her out at 10. 10 at night, out for a wee, and then she's back in, and that will be okay until the morning. But just being here with different people taking her on walks, different people letting her out. I mean, it's my fault, but I just got confused with what the kind of rota was, because we're all doing different things. So I assume, Steve's taking her out at 10, but then, he hasn't. He's taken her out at 8. But that extra 2 hours now means that Mildred is waking up at 4.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? To go out for a wee. Yeah. So it's just taken a little while. And Mildred goes up and jumps in the bed with Grace and wakes Wilder up.
Right.
So we've so I'm downstairs on the sofa bed because the bed is too small for all of us.
Yeah.
So my back is an absolute mess, by the way. But so I let her out at 10, shut both doors, shut her into the living room with me on the sofa bed. And just going back to that routine has meant that she's having a much better sleep. I'm having a better sleep. Wilder's having a better sleep. So Grace is having a better sleep. Mildred was kind of keeping the whole house up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that Mildred was just sort of accepting everything that was coming her way, thinking, yes, this is great. Everything, I get more walks, more treats.
Yes. Yeah.
I get more fuss, more attention. This is great. This is really an improvement.
Yeah. Exactly.
Meanwhile, all the adults around her are kind of chaos. Their lives are just quietly turned upside down.
Absolute chaos. But just getting that how important it's been to get that routine back in.
Yeah.
For her, and we kind of let that slip. And they've got a big garden out here, and was playing catch with Mildred, and I kicked the ball into the neighbour's garden by mistake. I kicked the tennis ball into the garden. Yeah. And that sent Mildred absolutely insane. Right. She had no idea. No, she's looking at me. For the next hour, why won't you go and get the ball? The ball is in the garden. And where do you stand on this? I thought I can't knock on the neighbour's house and ask for the tennis ball back for the dog.
No.
Do you think that's too much?
No, I don't. I think you could probably do it once. If you start doing it every day, then that amounts to being, a pest, doesn't it? Really, but yeah. Our neighbours play table tennis.
Yeah, well, they look out the window and see you weeing in the garden.
Well, at least it's my garden. I'm not doing it over the fence.
Fair point.
But they keep saying, have you found any table tennis balls? Well, no, I haven't. And they're kind of, I think they think that I'm just keeping them or stamping on them or something when I find them. And then I was tidying up the hedge and I found about 7 of them. So I chucked them all back over. But it wasn't me keeping them and being difficult.
Oh, you've got
They might think they asked you and then you thought, I better give them back.
I better hand them back. Yeah. That's probably what they thought. And now they're probably, he's a weirdo. He was keeping them until I confronted him. And then suddenly they all arrived back in our garden.
You've got to
bouncing all over the patio.
You've got to let them stack up now. They're gonna come back into your garden. You've got to let them stack up. Then you've got to go on Amazon.
Yeah.
And you've got to buy a giant bag of ping pong balls.
Over the...
No. You've got to deny seeing any of the balls.
Yeah.
And then you've got to make sure when they're in their front garden, you walk out with the giant bag of ping pong balls and just quickly put them in your boot, shut the door, and drive off.
Yeah. No, balls over the fence. If it's the dogs, it's a difficult one, isn't it? But I think you should definitely do it at least once.
Once I should go and get the ball.
Yeah, because you're capable of not throwing the ball over the fence. It was a mistake, presumably, and
yes, it was. Yes.
But Mildred wants her ball back. That's the thing.
Yes. Okay. Well, consider it done. How's Dolly?
She's very well. We went to see my dad yesterday, and she's quite a hit at the nursing home.
Yes,
because lots of people love seeing her. So that was nice, and she's very sweet. She's very sweet with my dad as well. She just sort of sits on Jane's lap and kind of looks at him quizzically, going, Yeah, how you feeling? All right? Is it looking after you? Yeah. Is the food all right? Is it good? So it's quite sweet, and it's really quite. It's quite a long corridor when you go in, but she walks in on the lead and she goes straight to my dad's room.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, that really is amazing. I think because there are so many because they clean the place the whole time.
Is he happy to see her?
Yeah, he loves seeing her, and then staff members like seeing her, and then the other residents there saying, "Oh, love to see."
He must have loved, because you grew up with dogs, so he must have loved dogs.
I don't know if loved was the right word. But he was, we did always have dogs, and he was, he tolerated them. But they, it's a different generation, and dogs were meant to be, at least if not outside, they wouldn't be allowed upstairs or anything like that.
Well, why were they there? Because my relationship with Mildred is very much like my mum's relationship with Hugo.
Mm-hmm.
Her dog, and very tactile and very kind of mushy, where I get and I know some of the things that the kind of intonation and whatnot that I have with Mildred or use with Mildred. That's from my mum. It's kind of my mum's relationship with Hugo is basically the same as my relationship with Mildred. So was it your mum that was getting the dogs? Were the dogs for you? Was it for the kids? The kids would love the dogs.
I don't know. I never really asked them. I assumed it was all for me. Thank you.
Funny that you became a comedian. That's so odd. Oh, strange.
Yeah, no, it's all about him all the time. It's just so self-centered. My mum always had dogs. Her dad was a big dog owner and very good with dogs. And he was a country person, and he's one who had a kennel in the backyard and that's where the dogs would stay. So, but they were lovely dogs, and I've got pictures of them, and I've now got pictures because my brother has gone through all our archive photographs and put them onto a disc for us.
Oh, amazing! And
I found pictures of my grandmother with the Dachshund. So
we must see them.
Yeah,
I must get them over to you. Actually, I'll send you a couple of pictures. So my mum, she always had dogs all her life. My dad didn't, but so it was my mum's influence that we ended up having dogs.
You're quite, as we've spoken about on here, is that you're mushy with Dolly.
Yeah.
Where does that come from then? If it wasn't. You didn't see that growing up. I'm
certainly much more sentimental with my dogs than I think anyone else in my family ever were. They have the ability just to sort of have a dog and not make too much of a thing about it. I don't know why it's become so central to me.
Teddy.
Yeah, Teddy. Yeah, you're right. It's
yes.
It's the trauma. It's the trauma. It is.
It's always the blooming trauma.
It's it boils down to that particular time in my life. If anyone hasn't heard that episode, which was some time ago, I can just remind people briefly that when I was a kid, I had this idea that I'm too old to have a teddy bear now, and I was about 7 or something. I was trying to grow out of it, and I'd had this teddy all my life, which at 7 is a long time, and I put it on the top of the rubbish in the bin outside. And thought I can sleep the whole night without my teddy, and but in the morning the bins have been emptied, and I never saw him again. So that I think explains more than just why I have a dog. I mean, it's why sometimes I sleep in the bin. It's nothing to do with drinking too much. Yeah. There we go.
Oh, that's very nice. And then Sara, of course, got you your teddy, and your teddy is now there behind you in the room.
Teddy too.
This is and he's a surprisingly, although much cleaner, he's a good facsimile because he did have a little waistcoat and stuff made for him by my grandmother at one point because he was all falling apart.
Yes.
Anyway,
there we go. Very sweet. Now we have a guest, of course, today, but we do have time, I think, for a quick email.
Yeah.
Or voice note, Sara. Which one do you want to?
I think we could do both.
We could do both. There's time.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the email. It says, "Hi, Jack, Sara and Seann. My black lab, Benji, once stole a chocolate muffin off the table outside a Costa. It wasn't our muffin, and the owner of said muffin didn't see the crime, and we decided not to own up." Very naughty. In addition to this, Benji found himself in the doghouse again because he stole someone's sandwiches from their picnic in a park. Not just one sandwich, he gulped about 6 of them in seconds. And yes, we had to apologise for that. Love the pod. All the best. David from South Links. Does that mean Lincolnshire?
Lincolnshire,
yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry to say, David, I was that customer at Costa. And...
send you the receipt.
Please, yeah. But no, it's a good one. That I think that obviously, dogs and picnics are not a great combination. They don't know how to necessarily behave. Basically, you're putting food on the ground, and that for them is their plate. That's fair. That's fair game, isn't it? Once it's on the ground, that means it's mine.
Yes. No, you're
because
right.
They do that. It always reminds me of our 2 Dachshunds when we had them. With Darcy, who was kind of the clever one, and Walter, who was just a very adorable but not quite so bright. And if I was ever carving, like Sunday lunch or something, beef, at the table, then they'd be at my feet watching, but Walter would be watching me, looking up, and Darcy was looking at the ground, and that was just cleverer.
That's brilliant.
She'd always get it. Anything that fell, and Walter would sort of see it fall, and by the time he followed it to the ground, it had gone because Darcy's on it. That's the difference.
Wonderful.
Love that.
Sniper dog. Well, look, that's obviously David's got in touch there because we've got a competition to see if anyone can beat Jack's check, Jack's tour check.
Yes,
your dog has eaten. If your dog has eaten something more valuable than Jack's tour check, then please do get in touch. I
wonder if there are any dogs out there that have eaten jewellery, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
That
might be jewellery.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm a big block of butter, and Juniper is painkillers.
Hopefully she didn't eat them, but that was the fear.
And an awful
Not
migraine.
by me, by the way. I don't want people thinking I leave my tablets lying around for her.
No, of course you didn't. No,
of course. So we've got a voice note. This is from Claire Fletcher. This is it's a cautionary tale. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hi there, it's Claire here, long-time listener. I thought I would respond when you were asking about things that your dog has eaten. We've had Labradors, and I think anyone who has Labradors know that they eat all kinds of things. But we live in the Midlands, and we took our dog to the seaside, and it was the first time, and Labradors love the water, and she went, "You had a great time, but dogs that live inland don't realise that you're not supposed to drink the water, the seawater." And we then got her out of the sea and we had a lovely walk along the beach, and we went and sat down. There was all these people. It was very busy, lots of people having fish and chips. And my dog, she looked a bit strange, and all of a sudden she had projectile vomit all over the place. It came out, both ends, I think. It was too quick for me to even tell, in front of all these people enjoying their fish and chips on the front. Yeah, tip to people with landlocked dogs. Be careful when you go to the sea, because if they drink too much of that salty water, it comes back out with force.
Funny, because it's never occurred to me that if they're not used to it, because obviously dogs quite like salt, so they might, maybe at first, thinking, "Oh, this is delicious, this is nice."
You take them to the beach, and they go, "Look at this massive bowl of water for me, lovely.
Oh, I can't wait to eat it." Yeah.
Well, obviously we all know Mildred is terrible with puddles. Absolutely awful with puddles. So yes, do watch out with that. And would they be all right with rivers? Drinking river water? They'd be fine with river water.
Probably. I mean,
not the Thames.
No, I think if it's a, I would say that, and I have this thing where I make stuff up when I'm asked a question like this. But I would say if it's a fast flowing river, it's probably safer than a stagnant-ish river. I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, like a
there
stream.
You go, everyone. So if you could just judge the speed of your river, and you could decide whether or not that is a fast-flowing river, and then you can allow your dog to drink water from it.
Don't go to the vet and say, "Well, when I was listening, Jack D said it would be all right if my I'm just guessing that because you get like rat poo and all that kind of stuff in the water if it's sitting around, a bit nasty. Yeah.
There you go. Good safety tip. Fantastic. Well, look, we've got a top guest today.
We really do.
Speaking to him, James Middleton is a British entrepreneur, mental health advocate, and author. He's a passionate campaigner for canine well-being, and last September he published his memoir, Meet Ella, the Dog Who Saved My Life, where he shared his experiences with depression and the healing power of dogs. He'll be taking his book to Goodwoof, and we'll be there too. So, in James's case, we do want to hear about all his amazing achievements, as well as get to know him through his dogs.
James, thank you very much for joining us. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
We'll get straight into it because you've written this book, Meet Ella, the Dog That Saved My Life. It's a dramatic title. In a nutshell, what do you tell people when they ask you what the book is?
I think, for me, it's a shared memoir of my journey with my beloved dog, Ella. I do credit her to saving my life in more ways than just one. I went through clinical depression and I was suicidal. And she was very much my reason to not follow through and to stay around because I didn't know what to do with her. She was the sort of the blocker in that. Right. And then, would get me up in the morning and we'd go out for a walk and then we'd get through another day. And the other part was Ella introduced me to my now wife. And we share a little boy called Inigo, who's 1.5. And Ella went up in a bar and basically stayed by the side of this girl that ended up with me going up to her and she just thought I was a waiter and ordered a drink. But Ella maintained by her side and eventually I plucked up the courage and wrote a little note to her saying I might be barking up the wrong tree, but
very nice.
See what you did there?
Well played.
And unfortunately she replied, but tragically, fast forward a few years, we got married and Ella was one of the flower girls and amongst my other dogs, and we were trying for our first child, and a week before we found out that my wife was pregnant, Ella had passed away. So there was
so
the night, but in a way I know with the sort of intuition that dogs have and their sixth sense that she knew my wife was pregnant before any of us did and was thought, right, if there's a time to slip away, now's the time. And so I feel very honoured. And so the second part of writing the book was really to tell Inigo everything about this dog, Ella, who had introduced to my wife, and the reason for his existence is all because of this dog. So I wanted to cherish those memories, and then it sort of transpired into this book.
Obviously, I know you love all of your dogs, but do you think you had a particular special bond with Ella, and why was?
100%. Ella was, and I've got 4 of my dogs in the room with me now, and they won't mind me saying it. That Ella was, I think. For some of us, we might just have one dog in our life, but I think those that have a few dogs and even just that one dog, there is one dog that will change your life and help you in a way that is beyond words, really. I think it's perhaps the part of your life that you're going through. It might be a tragic time. It might be a different aspects. And there is one dog that, and for me, it was Ella. She took me from, I was an adult technically, but I feel like I was a boy, and she took me through to adulthood and saw me get married and was, a real leveler for me to make sure that, that I will never go through such a transformative part in my life. And to have gone through that with Ella is that there's a very special part that she played in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hope it's not too prying, but do you find that is depression a thing that revisits? Is it something that's never fully resolved and that you have to work on, or where are you at now?
No, absolutely. I mean, look, I campaign for mental health and speaking openly about it. And for me, mental health is the same as your physical health. You can't just expect to go on a run and think, that's it, I'm done, I'm healthy. Yeah. You need to maintain it and you need to look after it and recognize the signs, and that's a lot of what I learned is that what the telltale signs are of being overloaded or things starting to go a little bit out of control, and taking the time to recognize it and try and adjust and shift and change and speak openly. And part of my method of controlling my mental health is I do have conversations about it, whether that's publicly and I do so publicly to sort of try and help others who might be going through something, or even the families or friends of seeing somebody suffer, because sometimes it can be really challenging for them too. But also help me, and I do it privately as well with my wife and my family to keep the conversation going, so that it's not, I find it ironic. I think it was Churchill that said that he had this black dog. Ironically, I had Ella, who's my black dog, but the other way around is
in a positive sense. Yeah.
Yes.
And so were you brought up with dogs, James? Did you always have them as children?
As a child? No, I campaigned and I pined for dogs all of my life, to the fact that I was on the local dog walking circuit with neighbours. I used to go and persuade them to allow me to take their dogs out for a walk. But no, it wasn't until I was leaving for boarding school the same month that our first family dog came to stay, called Tilly. Tilly was a golden retriever, and she is the relatives of the golden retrievers I have today.
Oh, they're connected, are they? There's a line that you can
trace all the way back. Yeah.
Wow,
and actually,
that's
what's fascinating about the golden retriever is that the breed's about, give or take, 155 years old now, and they all originate from Scotland. So actually, there's the I think it's Lord Tweesmouth, who was the original breeder of the golden retriever, and I think there's a lot of different legends, sort of stories, but one being that he was owed a debt by a travelling circus, and one of the debt couldn't get paid, so he said, "Okay, I want that dog," and it was a dog golden in colour, and he bred it with one of his working dogs up in Scotland, and out of that derived this breed of golden retriever that we know today. And there were 4 or 5 pups. All, I think the only one I can remember is called Primrose. They were all named after flowers, and since then, some have gone off to America. So a lot of them have stayed here.
And now you've got 6 dogs now.
Yes, so I've got 4 Cocker Spaniels and 2 golden retrievers.
Whoa!
And what's the oldest and what's the youngest? What are the age gap?
So
what age gap do you have?
The oldest is Zulu. So to put in context, Ella's first litter, she had 5 boys, and one of those boys was Zulu.
Oh wow! Right. Okay.
And also, my sister had a dog called Lupo from that litter as well, as a wedding present from me. And that litter, there were 5 boys. I really wanted a girl, but I ended up keeping Zulu. So Zulu now he'll be coming up to 15 this year, and then from that, Ella had a second litter. And she had 3 boys and 3 girls, and I couldn't choose between the 2 girls or 2 of the girls, and so I kept both Inca and Luna, who are 12 now. And then Lulu sired a litter and fathered a dog called Nala. So I have a chocolate cocker who's my youngest cocker, called Nala. And then Luna had a litter a few years ago. And she had some pups, and some of them went off to my family. And then Mabel, who is the descendant of Tilly, the first golden retriever, and then the youngest pup I have in Isla, come here, is Isla, who's 2.5 now.
Right. James, this might sound like a silly question, but I'm being very serious.
I can assure you it will be.
Yeah.
Hey.
This is Isla. She's the youngest.
Isla, adorable.
Very, very.
Oh, I look so happy. Look at that grin.
She's a happy dog.
That's gorgeous.
But I was going to ask, do you see traits of Ella in the dogs?
It's interesting you say that. I go out for a walk, and because I've got so many dogs, it's difficult to go and shout sort of their names all the time. But
of course,
Ella comes out so naturally because it's always the name I used to shout. So I still now shout Ella. And it's almost like the collective name for the dogs to return to me. So they all
have the family name.
So it's just sort of so ingrained in me. I can't, and it's actually wonderful because I still feel like she's out on a walk. A shadow might sort of go through the woods and there she is. So, I'm not all spiritual in belief of that side of things, but I very much believe that keeping her around is a positive thing. So, but no, I do see traits in them. I think there's elements that the way that, dogs do learn from other dogs, and in particular when you have 6 of them in the household, that they do follow each other, and there's benefits to that.
with 6 dogs in the house, presumably there has to be a measure of discipline there. You can't have them just all over the place. Are you quite a strict dog owner? Are you quite, would you say quite sort of sensible, or what goes on?
I'm firm, but I'm you know, they have the rights to most of the house. So it depends on, but I think that there's, you know, to me, the puppy stage is such an important phase when you have a dog in setting ground rules. So puppies, you know, are adorable, and they look at you with these eyes, and they can sort of get away with anything. Whereas if you were firm with them when they're pups, you then sort of have them through adulthood and the rest of their life, you've got control of them. So they are allowed.
That's interesting. Do you think do puppies learn from adult dogs as well how to behave? Do you find?
I think that puppies definitely make adult dogs younger. You know, I see that.
Oh wow!
I think you know,
okay, the other way around.
Friends who have had maybe a senior dog and wanted to get a new dog into their life so that they didn't have that void, perhaps and they get a new lease of life. And then equally the other way around, I definitely think that, you know, pups are disciplined by Inca and Luna, sort of take no shit from anybody. You know, if the dog comes and walks over and you know, they'll let themselves known, but I know where their limits are, if that makes sense. So they're not aggressive dogs. They're just, you know, if they don't want to be approached, they'll let them know.
And do they all get along?
Yeah, I mean, like siblings, you squabble from time to time, but it's in a way that's you know, I think again, dogs, you know, if you look at their history, they are you know, they 99% of their DNA is a grey wolf. They've changed a huge amount over those years. But the reason why we take puppies from 8 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks from their mums is seems cruel, but actually it's so that they build a stronger bond with humans than they do with canines, with dogs. Otherwise they can bicker, and they need, you know, they're always trying to get themselves up in hierarchy. So as a pet parent or a dog owner, you want to be their leader. And that's what they're aspiring to be. And if you're not a strong leader, they will try and lead you. And so there's that sort of element of it. So within a pack of dogs, you have to have a hierarchy, and it's not necessarily the oldest dog. It's the one that you can probably discipline the most and will listen to you the most. And then the others do fall into line with that.
So who's that for you?
So when Ella passed away, it was actually Mabel. So Mabel, when I met my wife, was still young and would listen to my wife, whereas the spaniels are fixated on me. So if I'm in the room, they won't listen to my wife, whereas Mabel will listen. So actually Mabel's now in charge of the pack and has little perks, like she's always fed first, for example.
Right, okay.
Have you ever experimented with what happens if that's not the case?
Yeah, no, of course, because actually the important thing is you've got to change it around, and you know, you've got to, it's just predominantly she's the one that's allowed privileges, but she can never assume it. She is always sort of with permission, especially with having a little boy in the house now, a baby. I need to make sure that, you know, that they are they know the hierarchy, so they are there's a hierarchy that they have to respect.
Of course, otherwise you get all sorts of problems, don't you, with that? We're looking forward to Goodwoof, the dog festival at Goodwood, which we are going. I think it's the 17th of May. We're going to be there, and you're going to be there as well, aren't you, James? What's your involvement?
Yeah, well, I know I've been going since I think it's the 5th year this year.
Right.
I was involved from the very first event when the Duke of Richmond called me up saying we're going to do a spaniel parade.
Great.
We had a couple of hundred spaniels turn up to start the festival, and I was there with my spaniels and Ella, proudly sort of launching the festival. And since then, being an ambassador is such a fun weekend. And it's not just a dog show; it's a proper weekend or day out that is focused around, you know, wellness and happiness for dogs. There's
lovely.
They've got Ministry of Hound, so they have a dog disco, which is dancing with your dog. They've got dog yoga.
Wow!
Fantastic is that, you know, you've got a room full of people doing yoga, or in a tent, and suddenly there's a fart, and at least you can blame your dog on that. But for me, I'm doing they have Literature Corner some wonderful guests, and I'm doing a bit of a reading from my book Meet Ella.
Yes.
So it's a fantastic day out. You get to see. I think one of the things I enjoy the most is watching the sheep handling. With the dogs being out, and there's just this command that somebody sort of says or a whistle, and this dog just charges off, and it's absolutely extraordinary to watch.
Oh, brilliant!
Fantastic day.
So we're looking forward to that, but the sheep aren't.
The sheep aren't. No, it's almost like they're radio controlled. It's that impressive that they.
Right.
It's like they know what they do. I've started to watch a film with my son called Babe. I don't know if you remember Babe.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And he goes off and learns that. Is it Bear Ram You? And it's wonderful to watch with a little child who is obsessed with animals at the moment. So
fantastic. Well, we look forward to that, and we look forward to we'll get to meet you in person.
Hopefully, meeting you in person. Yes.
Yes. Before you go, we like to ask all of our guests this question: do you allow your dogs to kiss you on the mouth or mouth area?
Yes, I am a firm believer that it is a healthy. I think I put this in a inverted commas in the sense of I know what they eat. We live on a farm. And it's a healthy sort of environment. It's not in the back alley of a city that
Bedford,
or any city that there's odd foxes that go and do various things, or people.
Right.
Yes.
But no, I think for me, I'm a big believer in healthy relationships with a dog, and a lick on the face, I think, is a healthy one. And my son Inigo, when he has some yogurt, it tends to cover his face like a moisturizer, and the dogs sort of have known to take advantage of that being their head height in a good old lick. So
like a four-legged wet wipe.
Exactly.
Coming in.
That's a good idea. I'm having that. For Wilder, thank you.
James, thank you so much for joining us. And just again, that your book is Meet Ella, the dog who saved my life, which it sounds like a fascinating read, and I'm looking forward to getting hold of a copy. We hope to see you in Goodwoof as well.
Yes,
so, I'll look out for you. I go around with a bike full of dogs.
Great.
Oh, wonderful. We won't miss you then. Okay. We're glad you're well now as well, James. Thank you
very much. Thank you. Well, I think it is. I think recognizing how much dogs can bring into our lives and giving them the respect back that they deserve. They're not accessories in our life. They are, very much part of our lives. And I think that's such an important thing.
We couldn't agree more.
Completely, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. All the best.
Thank you so much, James. That was so fascinating. I loved hearing the family history.
Yeah.
Dogs. So interesting.
Inca, come here. Actually, this is Mabel. So this is the mum to the... so she's a little bit grey in the face.
Pretty dogs.
Gorgeous.
She is absolutely beautiful.
Inca,
my God.
Inca, come. So this is then Inca, who's
lovely.
Well, she's my naughtiest spaniel. Well, she's the naughtiest, full stop. There you go. Look on the face. Is
answering our last question.
And then Luna, come on. Luna's going a bit deaf, actually. Come here. Good girl.
Do they follow you everywhere?
Pretty much, yeah. No, they are. So I've got two of them are in the office with my wife at the moment. So she likes to have a few dogs in with her who work. So we're
adorable.
We're lucky in that respect. And then that's Isla.
Yes,
we can see Isla.
Beautiful.
Aww.
Don't get up, Isla. Please take a seat. You don't need to get up for us.
But no, I look for hopefully I'm going to be there either on the 17th or 18th or both days. I'm not sure yet. But we'll be there and
great
to perhaps meeting you then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Great. Yeah. Just while we were talking, I was thinking about how I don't think we've had someone whose dog has literally kind of saved their lives and been so central to their recovery from a serious kind of crisis. So that's a wonderful thing to know that. And we've talked about this before, but I think that dogs can do that for us on a basic level, which they take us out of ourselves and remind us
absolutely
we're not the center of everything. And that's why they're so good for kids as well in the family, that children learn that there's someone else who has to be looked after here. It's not just about me.
Yes, I think the book also deals with grief as well. And that's something that unfortunately at some point, everyone has to go through with that. I mean, my mum's dog, Hugo, the family dog, Hugo isn't well.
Oh.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because we come on here on a weekly basis and we talk about our love of dogs, of our own dogs, our kind of ongoing relationship, this funny, playful, loving relationship that we have with our dogs. But with my mum, I mean, I remember when Gertrude passed, it was time. Unfortunately, it was time. But my mum was so distraught. And my mum, she said Gertrude was her best friend.
Oh.
And I think that's, the dog, and he kind of said this at the end, James, that the dog is part of the family, isn't it? And it's not an accessory. I mean, the relationships change, can differ from each individual, and everyone has their own relationship with their dog. But certainly for my mum, Hugo and Gertrude, that they are, that my mum is that close with the dog. There's not, I would even say, that thing of, it's more than a dog, but actually I think certainly with my mum it is. The dogs are even almost more valuable sometimes than people. It's strange to say that, but
how does that make you feel, Sean?
I know, I knew that. As soon as what you don't get at home, listeners, is Jack. He can't help himself. A smirk reveals itself.
Okay.
The communication has been made in different areas of his brain, and as soon as it's loaded into the bit where he goes, yeah, that's a funny thought, he gets a little smirk and you go, it's coming.
Oh, brilliant.
But I guess I guess we are all like that, though. I mean, I'm always having often having to take second place to Dolly, as far as Jane's affections are concerned. It's and also actually, when I think our very first guest was Jonathan Ross, and he expounded on this about how relationships with your canine friends are just so much more straightforward. And they're there. They unconditionally love you. Yes. There's no hard feelings. Why were you out so long? You said you'd only be 10 minutes and you're out an hour. There's no fuss. They're just delighted to see you again. That's all it is.
Oh, sorry, that was you, Jack. Yes. Go on.
Yeah. So,
yes.
It's very good. What a great guest. And look forward. Hopefully we'll meet him at Goodwoof. And, and hopefully some of our listeners as well. I'm sure we will. Be great.
Absolutely. So as always, thank you for listening to Oh My Dog. We love getting all these insights from our guests, and we hope you're enjoying getting to know a different side of them through their love of dogs.
Yeah, and please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel at OMD Pod, and please do get in touch by emailing us at hello@omdpod.com. Find us on Instagram at OMD Pod. You'll find loads of extra content and videos there, and you can send us your voice notes. We love to hear from you. We can't read them all out or play them all, but it is great to hear from you.
Yes, and do please subscribe to the YouTube channel and go, and you can watch these now, and you can see that smirk on Jack's face.
Oh, and I heard the Bedford comment as well. Don't think I did.
So, it's Jack's a bad influence. I've got no problem with Bedford.
and yet you have adopted my prejudice.
I know, it's awful. Yes, so listen, and also, sorry, you're doing us so many favours, but please go and give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps us. And remember, a dog is for life, not just for podcasts.
There we go.
Yeah, my mum won't answer my calls. Doesn't text back. Not spoken to her in years.
No, it's she's too busy with the dogs.
I know. I went to visit her and no answer. I just saw the curtain shutting.
You hear the dogs barking. Don't let him in.